Welcome to Inside UPIKE Athletics, presented by Justice Broadcasting. Gary Justice, along with Cory Gannon, the Executive Director of Admissions at the University of Pikeville. Our visit has brought us on campus inside the admissions office. And Cory, appreciate your time this evening.
I appreciate you having me.
So, Cory, there's a lot of great things going on at the University of Pikeville. A lot of, almost too numerous to name, though. Mm-hmm. Can you fill us, the people in the home, what's going on campus?
Yeah, a lot's going on campus right now. You know, we just wrapped up the fall semester, getting ready to start into Christmas break and then start with a new semester this past year, this next upcoming semester. Looking to fill a pretty solid class coming for that. This past semester, you know, we talk about a couple of things. We'll talk about the missions. You know, 85% retention rate that we had, you know, 99.
So explain what, so we hear that number, retention rate. I know there are a couple of different numbers throughout what retention means. So when you say 85% retention rate, what does that mean?
That means students that stayed on campus after their first year.
Okay.
Or after the previous year before.
And that's getting into record numbers, I would think, isn't it, Cory?
It is, and then, you know, you look at it as well. Right at the beginning of the fall semester, we're roughly around 99% occupancy on our dorms. Brought in 336 freshmen, which is the highest freshman class since 2014. So
big number.
It was a big number. It was an exciting time. But, you know, a few things going on campus right now. You know, getting ready to start the Tanner College of Dental Medicine, which will start the fall of 26. Construction on Bear Mountain. You know, many different things. You know, we're looking to continue to grow. You know, one thing, you know, since we've worked together throughout the years, we always said we like to be small, but we like to do big things. Right. And, you know, I feel like we're continuously doing that.
Well, I tell you what, since I can't remember, you graduated 2014?
Yes.
So you started school here in 2010. So when you were a student here, that's when the transition happened from Pikeville College to UPIKE.
I believe my first year was Pikeville College.
Okay.
And then we went to UPIKE. Was it June of 2011?
That's right, yep.
Yeah, so it had been going into my sophomore year.
So there's a correlation here, Cory, that ever since you've been on campus,
big things happen.
Big things happen. So after you graduated, worked in a variety of roles on campus, right? Admissions office, student success, came back to admissions, went and even sold some billboards for a little while.
For 6 months.
But then come back on the hill. So in total, Cory, how many years have you been working at the University of Pikeville?
In total, if you remove that 6 months that I left and sold billboards, July of 2014, so going in on probably about 11 years.
Yeah, so you've seen a lot of things happen,
Mm-hmm.
as far as the growth of the medical school and the opening of the optometry school and now the opening of the dental school
Mm-hmm.
and the master programs coming through. Man, I'm glad you became a bear, Corey.
Yeah, it's a lot of great things, but it wouldn't be here if it wasn't for people like you.
Well, yeah, that is it's kind of you to say, but Corey, that is actually going to lead me into my next question. So, when you were a sports star at Pike County Central High School, um, looking at college choices, why University of Pikeville for you?
You know, Whenever I started looking at colleges, I wanted to go away, like most kids do, and thought to myself like I just want to get as far away from Pike County as I can, and venture out, look for many different things for myself. And as I went through that process, I didn't really know the college process as well as I thought I did. And, I started talking to different people and thought to myself, I was like, well, maybe this institution is going to be the right fit for me. But did I go tour campus? No, I didn't do anything. Gary, I didn't come tour Pikeville College because I thought I knew everything about it.
Mhm.
And I thought, growing up here, we knew every single thing. I didn't know there was anything past the three buildings that was up here at the front. Um, so when I started going through that process, I started I want to give a shout out to Miss Mandy
Please.
Stacy. Um, she would come in about every day, about once a week, and I would see her start going over offer letters with people. And she pulled me out one day and talked to her, and we started going through my offer letter and started figuring out this was something that was a reasonable thing. And then started building that relationship with her and started figuring out like not many universities were taking that time and spending it with us and building that relationship with us. So when we got on campus, we actually had a resource here. And it kind of takes me back to why I do what I do now is because there's a lot of people that was like me in high school that didn't know the process, that didn't know what they wanted to do for the rest of their life, and kind of just thought that they could just continuously go through the motions and eventually land into something. And that's the reason coming here and being a part of this and working here. There all kind of stems back to 2010, 2009,
Yeah.
2010 when I was a student in high school and trying to figure that stuff out. But it was a lot about just building that relationship and coming up here and seeing how it was a tight knit family. It's a very cliche thing people say all the time. But whenever you start building those relationships here on campus, it extends out. I always tell students like, "Hey, listen, when you come up here, you're gonna meet two people, and after you meet two, you're gonna meet four. Then
That's
that
right.
four turns into eight, and you start building a hub around yourself. And it's your networking and connecting that's going to make you successful after you leave and go on to whatever your next venture is."
You talk about the family aspect of it, Corey, and not trying to say other colleges don't have that same
Right.
atmosphere, but we do know at the University of Pikeville it does exist. And I remember many years ago when I was a student here, um, I was amazed the professors knew my name,
Mhm.
and then they knew like where I was from and what I was interested in. And once you start having that professor for maybe a second time or maybe even a third time if it's inside your major, they learn how you learn, but also you learn how they teach. It becomes a
Exactly.
partnership, right?
Exactly. And when you start looking at that for students, it's I wasn't a great academic student in high school. You and I both have had this conversation numerous times about ACTs, GPAs, and
Yeah, well, we won't do that on air, Corey. But definitely, we were happy this is an open enrollment
yeah,
institution.
exactly. Now, but when you start, I think we start looking at students and start building. Students start getting classified while they're younger. Tell them like this is what this your ACT and things like that leads you
Yeah.
to this, and this is what you can do with that. But a lot of students don't start maturing until they get into that first year of college,
Good point.
and they don't start figuring out what they truly interested in. When I came to college, I wanted to major in criminal justice, go to state police academy, and didn't. That we have a phenomenal criminal justice program here, but I didn't do well because my mind wasn't engaged in what I was learning at the time. And I took one business class under Brenda Maynard, and I took that business class. And I was like, I kind of like this a little
That's right.
bit, and decided to take Howard Roberts' accounting one the next semester, and fell in love with business and did a 180 on what I wanted to do. And I think whenever we start expecting students just doing those things and start building those relationships, and they start figuring out in the classrooms and learning how the teachers teach, and you learn how they teach, and they learn how you learn, and when you need help, you can get that help. And I think that's the biggest thing for students. And we do a lot of, like we said, we do a lot of big things here, but we're still small enough
That's right.
that students still feel comfortable raising their hand in classrooms. They still feel comfortable enough approaching professors. I think about some professors that I had when I was a student here, um, just going out of their way to do many different things that you don't see. And it's, growing up, you always get that stereotypical of college professor. They want to make you fail. They don't want you to do well. They want to make it hard, and they do want to make it hard. But at the end of the day, you're their product. They want you to
That's
be
right.
successful, and they're going to find ways to build that for you and figure out how you study. And I think about one professor that I had here as a student, and I worked while I was a student here, and I worked at the Department of Labor. I had to work in between classes just to make my hours up and whatever it was. And I remember going and talking to a professor. I think it was maybe strategic management. Could be wrong. And told him I was like, "Listen, I'm struggling. I can't figure out what you're looking for in this paper." And he was like, "Can you meet me in my office hours at 8 in the morning?" I was like, "I can't. I got to work at 8." And he was
Yeah.
like, "Well, can you be here at 6:30 in the morning?" And that's the type of relationship our professors build with students here on campus.
And also shows a lot of commitment on your part to even come to campus at 6:30
Yeah, I
in the
know.
morning. So Kathy Gannon, when you're watching this,
Well, I was going to say it was Roy or Kathy. They're going to make me do it.
But Cory, so you had the the shift from criminal justice and going to go to the State Police Academy to now a career in higher education. How did that happen?
Well, it's funny. So whenever I graduated, didn't have a job. Like I said, I worked at the Department of Labor, and whenever I worked there, it was a student program, so you had to be in school to keep working there. So after graduation, didn't have a position anymore, so I took that summer trying to find different opportunities, and I thought to myself, I was like, this is not going to be much of an issue finding a job for me. And as the summer went on, just did not
Uh,
could not find the right fit for me. So I remember sitting in my bedroom one day, and my dad walks in and was like, "Listen, you've got to figure something out, or you're going to have to start. I'm going to go and take you different places and figure
yeah.
out myself." So I remember sitting in my room, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna see what jobs are up at UPIKE," and I applied as an admissions counselor, and you interviewed me during that time. Uh, Came on in 2014. I told myself I was like, I'm gonna do this for a year,
Yeah.
and if I like it, I'll figure it out. But if I don't like it, I might still look at the State Police Academy or
Well,
may look into teaching or anything like that. And whenever got a year into it, I was like, I really enjoy this because I started figuring out, building these relationships with kids around here. And like I said earlier, I think back to myself when I was in those situations. How do we continuously find ways to improve? We always sit here and talk all the time is how we're going to improve Eastern Kentucky, and it really starts with our kids and finding ways to develop them and keep them here, retain them here in Pike County, and continue to grow Pike County, and giving them opportunities like the university has. And that's kind of what's kept me going with working in admissions and higher ed. Is there's so many kids out there that need just that support, that little push. We're in a very rural area, and some kids don't get the same opportunities that the rest of us had, and they just may need somebody to just have a little bit of confidence in them and saying like, "Hey, this is possible." And I know we'll probably talk about scholarships and stuff here in a minute, but
yeah,
it's affordable.
that's right.
Growing up around here, you hear all the time like University of Pikeville. Growing up for us was Pikeville College. It's way too expensive. You can't afford it. And finding these opportunities for students and making it affordable for them and seeing the excitement from them is something that just thrive on every day. And seeing those students succeed is just one of those things that you've done this as well. Just seeing them. One day they think to themselves like, "I can't afford college. I can't do it. I want to do
Yeah.
X, Y, Z." And the next thing you see them walking through CICOM or CICO and going on to their next step and whatever that is.
And Cory, I think a lot of times we have so many. I was a first generational student, and my family. I was the first one in my family to go to college, and there's so many of those students who are still not just in this area, but just throughout the country, and who the college process, as you noted there, you really didn't know about coming touring to campus or even what to do, or even on a campus visit. Um, but uh, being that first generational student, college seems so big, right?
Hmm.
It's just like the unknown can really it give us a lot of anxiety, and we can blow things much larger than what they actually
Hmm.
are. And as you talked about the affordability, and you see on the news about you know, college debts here and students not being able to afford to make their payments. And but it's not happening at the University of Pikeville. I noticed that I think last year $22 million in grants and scholarships
Hmm.
were given out to last year. And now you have the UPIKE pledge where students can go. The tuition is covered, and
Yeah,
also their books. So definitely University of Pikeville has done their part, I believe, Corey, to make it affordable.
I do. I believe that as well. And I think it is too. Is when I'm gonna quote somebody sitting in this room. Don't overestimate the power of simplicity.
There you go.
And we once students start getting packages and start looking at different opportunities and things, they don't understand that this tuition, yes, your tuition's this, but you also may also have to pay
Yeah.
parking. You have to pay for textbooks and all that stuff. Here at UPIKE, we've taken tuition and fees, we've put it together on offer letters for students to make it that. Room and board's put together, textbooks are free, we don't charge for parking. We try to keep everything simple for the students so it doesn't overwhelm them and makes it an easier process for them. Um, and we try to find ways to set that up for them. So whenever we sit here at the beginning of the process in the recruitment season, we go out to all the schools. Let's go ahead and get you applied. Let's go ahead and get your transcripts, and we'll handle the transcript side of things. We'll get those in. We'll get you accepted, and that's the only part you have to worry about that right now. So we get that part taken care of, and it's like let's get the FAFSA. So
Yep.
then you have phenomenal resources, and I'll shout out Brandon Brown right now.
Oh,
With Kia,
phenomenal, phenomenal.
phenomenal resource for this area. I don't think our area realizes how phenomenal he really is.
A free resource through Kia.
Exactly.
Free through so Kia, the Kentucky Higher Education Assistance Authority through the state of Kentucky, and Brandon is the counselor for this area,
Hmm.
and such a great resource. I mean, for
He is.
not just University of Pike, but for all
All
colleges, all
colleges.
kids. Where
Exactly.
you want to go to? Let's help you get to some
I
scholarship money.
talked to a kid from Western Kentucky the other day that had questions, and I was like, listen, I know he's not your rep, but let me give you Brandon's number
That's right.
real quick.
Because he'll get them in touch with the right person.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
But Cory, so let's maybe hit rewind real quick. As far as you talked about the process, um, and you talk about like getting the transcripts, getting taking care of things. So as far as the admissions process, let's maybe walk through those steps in order to, if you're a high school senior, or even I guess you can start applying when you're a junior in high school as
hmm
well. So what is the process for admission?
yeah, it's pretty basic. Whenever you start looking at us, first things apply. Go to apply.upike.edu. Most of the time, if a counselor comes out to your school or anything, we'll bring applications or get online and help you fill that application out ourselves. It's pretty basic information. Um, one piece of advice I'll give to every single student is fill out an application for every single college, especially if it's free. And send in your transcripts. Some institutions will ask you to send them through Parchment or National Clearinghouse. We'll try to work with the schools and get that for you to remove that barrier for the student. So it's one less thing that they have to worry about. Um, then, really we've waived ACT scores here. So students don't have to submit an ACT score unless they apply for some different scholarship programs like Osteopathic Medical Scholars Program, Optometry Scholars Program, or Presidential. Um, but we automatically will give students a scholarship based off GPA. So the higher the student's GPA is, the more money they will receive based off that. Um,
So going back to the admissions process, so let's do the steps. So the first thing is, again, really for any college you want to go to, the first
mhm,
thing is to apply for admission,
yes,
and then also check out what those admission requirements are, because some colleges
exactly.
may require an essay of some sort. But UPIKE, you're talking about, you just say apply for admission, which is free, and then they need to send in their transcripts, which
Hmm.
could be done through Parchment, which I guess they can get with their guidance counselor at school
Yep,
too. That would help them out as well,
yep.
right? So that would get them accepted into college,
Hmm.
right?
Yes,
And then so now they got accepted, and that again, any college you're looking at, they need to whatever those schools requirements are,
yes.
meet
Go
those,
through
right?
the requirements.
So once they get accepted, Corey, so now that's the process. So let's talk about paying for college. You mentioned about the FAFSA a little bit and Kia and those resources out there. So, and you mentioned the FAFSA, which is that free application for federal student aid.
Hmm.
Talk about what that process is.
Yeah, so it all opens on October 1st. Past few years it's changed for different reasons, but we're back to October 1st, and we're actually processing FAFSAs now and getting offer letters out to students already. So the free application for federal student aid, students will get on there with parents' tax returns from prior year. They'll fill out their FAFSA. they'll receive a thing called an SAI number, and that SAI number will kind of determine how much can the student pay for college. So whenever they go through this process, they'll fill the FAFSA out. The quicker they get it in, the more apt they are to receive more money. Because whenever you look at the FAFSA, especially for us, there's three things we really look at. You got a Pell Grant, which is gave to you by the federal government. You've got the CAP Grant, which is gave to you by the state of Kentucky, which mimics off of Pell. Then you've got a KTG grant, which is a Kentucky tuition grant, gave to you by the state of Kentucky for students inside the state that plan on going to a private school like the University of Pikeville. Um, those students, if they're fully eligible for all three of those with us, they'll receive the UPIKE pledge, which will cover the full cost of tuition.
Amazing.
It is. I mean, that's $26,000 some dollars covered for you right there.
I mean, and tuition and the textbooks. I mean,
yeah, textbooks are free.
It's an amazing program. But going back real quick, so the FAFSA, you fill it out one time per year, but also, like if you're still going through the recruitment process, you can put as many schools as you can.
You list up to 20.
You can list up these, so you can send that result to 20 schools.
Yes.
So you don't do one for each. Even though you do an application for each school, it's one FAFSA
for each,
for up to 20 schools.
Yeah, and the thing is too is we push students pretty quickly to fill that out because you'll never run out of federal Pell Grant, but CAP and KTG, both of those funds can deplete pretty quickly.
So that's a good point there. So the Pell Grant it's limitless, right?
Yes.
But then you talk about the state grant that there's and it's first come first serve, and just because even with the returning students, it's based upon when you get the FAFSA completed. Is that right?
Yes.
That's how you get your spot in line.
Yes.
And they just go down the line, right? And then they start handing out. I mean, they don't send you a check personally, but they'll send the school.
School, yes. And the thing is too is when you start looking at that, with the UPIKE pledge you can get your tuition covered, but then you start looking at other scholarship opportunities that we offer here. You start looking at your KEYS money. Your KEYS money can go and help pay towards room and board. But if you don't receive UPIKE pledge, KEYS money can help pay for tuition. Your GPA scholarship, like I said earlier, but depending on your GPA range, you can receive up to $8,000 to help pay towards your tuition as well. Part of the UPIKE dual credit program. Getting into there, that's $3,500. Program like OMSP, OSP, is $3,200. Athletics is a great way to also help pay for school as well. Roughly we're an institution about 50% of students, and that are involved with athletics. And if it's a way to help pay for school,
why not?
Take it exactly.
So Cory, everything that you're mentioning, and this is some jargon that you and I throw around, just kind of talking about these things, but so. That's stacking of scholarships, right?
Yes.
And again, not trying to talk about other schools negatively, but sometimes schools don't allow you to stack the scholarships.
Nope.
But with the University of Pikeville, you can stack them, right?
Yes, they'll let us stack scholarships. So you receive your GPA, you can receive 2 supplemental, and then you can receive 2 activity. And then one of the activities will have to be whatever the amount is, and the other one will be $1,000. And then you can also bring in as many outside scholarships as you need.
So the takeaway from me is, and I know people may at home may say, "Man, that sounds really confusing." Oh my goodness! I promise you that if you will come to campus, or your student, your son or daughter and just go meet with an admissions counselor at University of Pikeville, because when you talk about the award letter or the offer package, that's where you're going out to the schools or meeting with families one-on-one, like you and I were talking, and you'll sit down and you'll break down what the cost is, right?
Yes, we'll sit down with them, and if they want to schedule a Zoom call, we'll do Zoom calls. Right now we're in the process of going to high schools and sitting down with students and explaining it to them. We mail those out, and we put our business card in there and a letter saying, hey, if you have questions, contact us. We'll be more than happy to help you through this process.
And that's just not lip service. You really do want them to call.
Oh, yeah, we do. We do.
Because you like for the people to come on campus and talk. You like to talk to people on the phone, too.
Exactly. Exactly. We do. I mean, that's what makes our job. That's the reason why we're here. Students is what keeps us going. We're a student-centric university. And, we're at the beginning of the door for these students. And we got to make sure that we provide the best customer service we can for them.
Well, definitely, Cory, what you and your crew does in the admissions office is it's phenomenal as far as going out to the schools and going through the whole process of helping getting the application, because sometimes students may feel intimidated even filling out the college application, walking through that process with them, walking through the process of getting the transcripts, truly, it's you talk about white glove service. University of Pikeville admissions can do that if the student wants it. You're not going to force it on anybody.
Exactly.
But if they need assistance, you can walk them through the admissions process. You walk them through the financial aid process. And Corey, I've heard you talk to families about making suggestions about where they can find even additional scholarship
Yes.
money as well.
Yes, and that's we talked about. We're in an area and we're an institution that has a lot of first generation college students. You and I both were, and it's just overwhelming for students and parents. Most of the time we'll talk to parents on the phone, and the first thing they'll say is like, "I'm clueless on this. I don't know. This is my first kid that's went to college."
Yeah.
And even if you go through college, it's something that you don't remember going back through it. So we're here to guide parents and students along the way to make sure they get the right information that they need. And every student that comes in this office, we take a lot of pride on saying, UPIKE may not be the right fit for
That's
you.
right.
We want to make sure you find the right fit, and our job is to get you from point A to point B. If that's here, if you know to yourself, like, hey, I came in toward UPIKE, it's not the right fit for me.
That's
I
right.
feel like a little bit larger institution, maybe like Moorhead, is the right fit for me. Well, let me pick up the phone. I'll call Gabe Shadle and let you get in touch with him and get you connected with other people, because our job here is to make sure students are being successful in whatever that is and get them to whatever that. I mean, if that's becoming a doctor, let's go through the process. Let's talk about this.
Right.
Well, you want to do rad tech? We don't offer rad tech here. Let's get you connected somewhere else and make sure. We want to make sure every single student, because, like we said, it's an overwhelming process here for students and parents.
Corey, I've heard you talk to the families before with students that truly you value their investment, whether it be financially, their time, whatever it may be, and make sure it's the right fit for them.
Hmm.
And I've heard you encourage those families. You're wanting to do rad tech or whatever program may be. Hey, this is not the route to the University of Pikeville. However, this could be here, and you're offering that guidance too. So definitely, what you and your crew does is totally
We've got a
phenomenal.
phenomenal crew here.
Uh,
We do.
I, you know what? And the bear juice is pretty good too.
Bear juice is pretty good.
So let's summarize this real quick, Corey. So going back to the admissions process, it's simply filling out an application. It'll be paper or online. Apply.upike.edu,
Hmm.
and submit transcripts, right?
Yes,
And that'll be high school, or if you're a high school student or a transfer student, you need to send those college transcripts in.
exactly,
If you're a high school student, you need to send in your college transcripts if you're taking dual credit courses.
exactly.
Okay, so right. So you need to apply, send transcripts, and then financial aid is truly just completing the FAFSA,
It
right?
is. It's a pretty. I mean, it's just compared to whenever we were students. The FAFSA was a lot more difficult than it is now, and get on there, get that filled out. Once they get that, and it generates everything for them, and then we get that information and we take it out to students and make sure that they receive that information and they understand line by line what each of those lines mean for them. And we try to make it as black and white as possible. Financial aid, Daniel Donner, created a new offer letter, and he tried to make it as simple for students to understand that this is your total cost without loans. This is your total cost with loans. And, student loans is a very scary word for students in this area and students across the nation.
Right.
But student loans used correctly are a great investment, and that's the thing is you and we've talked to numerous students about this. You can use student loans to pay for your education, but don't take out a student loan to for spring break.
Exactly. Yeah. You've
You'll
been
be paying that for 30 years.
for a long
But
time. Yes.
way we always look at it and we talk to students is it's a way you invest into yourself.
That's right.
Whenever you graduate and you start a retirement account, it's something that you won't see for a while, but you sit there, you take that money, you're investing into yourself to prolong your career, find that right fit for you. Because another thing I think we do here at the University of Pikeville is help students find their passion, and we want students to find what that is. Taking if student loans are an option for students, it's a way to help you find your passion and guide you along that route as well.
Well, Corey, you're definitely you're a walking example of that, finding your passion,
Yeah.
right? I mean, you definitely come in. I was you're gonna go to state police academy, criminal justice, and you found your passion of like I want to be a helper. I want to serve, and I can serve families, serve this area, and this is an old tagline from back when it was Pikeville College. But truly, you want to change the world one graduate at a time.
Exactly.
And because I know you've talked about the value of when you went through the process and what UPIKE has done for you within Pikeville College, but then now extending that as the executive director of admissions. you're extending that same service now that you received, what, 15 years
15,
later?
16 years
Yeah,
ago.
15, 16 years
Yep.
ago. So it's man, you're doing a great job, Cory.
Well, I appreciate it. I learned it from one of the best.
Well, I like to meet that person one day. Well, so Cory, so this will be my final question for you because we talked about the process and paying for it. Um, the last question I have for you is the value of a college visit. What would you say to when somebody should ask you that question?
Yeah, so we usually, when we go out and we speak with students, um, we always tell them, like, hey, find 5 colleges. Find a larger institution, find a smaller institution, toward a community college. Find 5 schools that are kind of on your radar and go visit them. See how the students interact with one another. See how the processes are going. Make sure it's financially affordable for you. Make sure they have the right major for you. And, some students, they thrive in a larger institution. Some students thrive in a smaller institution. I know I've known a lot of people. My wife, Casey, went to EKU. She thrived. She done extremely well. EKU's too large for me. I got to find the right fit for you. Got to find the right fit for you. And once you start touring those college campuses, you start realizing, okay, maybe the smaller classroom sizes, the smaller campuses is the right fit for me. And be able to sit here and when you come on campus, figuring out am I going to build that relationship with my professor? What support services do they have on our campus for me? Whenever I start looking at campuses or start looking at our campus, you've got free tutoring, you've got student success advisors, you've got many different options that's going to help guide students through this process, and you've got to figure those things out. And I always say it's kind of like buying a used car. You want to find something that's safe and reliable for you. And, I always tell students, when you get that 5, narrow it down to your top 3.
Yep.
Top 3 after your first semester of your senior year, junior year, wherever that is, go back one more time to those top 3s. Tour those campuses just to find out what's going to be the one that sticks out to you the most.
It truly, because you talk about this, the investment or the kind of like the retirement account you talked about. This is an opportunity for you to, where do you want to spend your time? Because you're looking not only for the 4 years that you're in college, but you're looking for the next 40 years.
Exactly.
And so you're making that investment for the next 40 years through these 4 years. How can you get the most out of your investment of time? And I think that's great advice there. A top 5, narrow it down to top 3. Really look at what the affordability, resources, and but having all those questions when going to college visit is so key, though, right?
Yeah, and the thing is too is over the past couple of years we've ran into some issues, with students after COVID. Campus tour, you were here during that time. Campus tour numbers started dwindling down, so we started providing transportation for students, bringing them up here on campus, giving them as a day as a UPIKE Bear.
That's
And,
right.
bringing them up here, letting them eat in the cafeteria, meet with different people all across campus, touring. And once students start doing that and they get on a college campus, they're more than likely going to make the right decision for themselves.
Also, Cory, I think when you talked about getting more students on campus, when we did the van tours, go pick them up, bring them to campus, I think it also just kind of sparks a little bit more interest in going to college, period.
It does. And I think that's something that we with students need to start kind of focusing on is make them more excited than more worried about going to college, because I feel like we get students a little worked up, they get a little scared, and it's a scary time for them.
Right.
And the more we can make it relax for them, something that's enjoyable for them, and something that they're going to be looking forward to, then something they're kind of a little bit more intimidated by, the more apt that they are to kind of matriculate to your institution.
Well, Cory, I tell you what, I'm glad that your career path changed.
Well, I'm glad as well.
So, because what you're doing at the University of Pikeville in this admissions office, man, is just absolutely amazing. And I've seen so many different. You've been in a lot of different interviews and a lot of national interviews too. A lot of people looking at the University of Pikeville for a little bit of leadership, Cory.
No, I don't know about.
And it is awesome. Well, Cory, man, appreciate your time.
I appreciate you, Gary.
It's awesome. So we appreciate you guys tuning in to Inside UPIKE Athletics. A special edition as we went inside the UPIKE admissions office, because, again, if you're going to play athletics at the University of Pikeville, this is going to be your first stop. It's inside the admissions office as well. So for Cory Gannon, Gary Justice with the Justice Broadcasting Network, appreciate you guys tuning in. And please remember, it's always a great day to be a Bear.